that was going on. I don't know if everybody wasn't here when it started anyway, and I got to pick up so many nice things, so many interesting things from the young people in the hall, from our older mothers, and anyway, from everybody. And it's quite interesting that, you know, we had different things to put into the discussion because we are from different backgrounds. Our experiences in life are different. Our perceptions are different. So it's not possible for two people to have exactly the same perception about something. And I think that's the beauty that Allah has given us as humans. Because if we all had the same perception, wouldn't the world be so boring? Imagine everybody decides to come wearing pink because, yeah, everybody likes pink. It'll be so boring and the eyes will not enjoy the beauty that Allah has given us. So the differences that we have, I think they seek to make us, you know, have more fun in the dunya, because the dunya is not just about being serious. And as things are going, just the way the Emir was saying, he was saying about the fact that it seems we Muslims have, you know, our priorities are not really in the right order. And one thing I have noticed is something I've experienced myself is that fun is actually not at the top of our priorities. We feel we have to be like serious and all that before anything can happen. It's like we have to be so serious that we can't even get, or otherwise we can't even get to Jannah. So we find that everything is taken very, 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 you know, seriously. I'm also someone that has been like that. I always take things seriously, but I'm learning to loosen up because I've learned that it's not the seriousity, if there's a word like that, but, you know, the intention behind what we want to do. So the first part of this session is really about, okay, what's the real value of wealth? Or is it real value of money? Whatever you want to call it. Wealth, money, we could say wealth is money. Most people think wealth is money. But I've come to understand that wealth is not just about money. There was something that was mentioned earlier, health is also important. So what is wealth? Basically everything good that Allah has provided us with. Money is a component of it. And inshallah, I'll try as the day goes on to see if we can get on a page where we have a shared understanding that as Muslims, it's actually our duty to ensure we actually set off on the path of financial freedom. For instance, for me, I'm not there yet. I'm still on that journey. So whatever I'm sharing with you, you probably hear things that you've known before. You probably hear things that you've done before. Because there's nothing that is really new. Nothing is really new. If I say I'm financially free now, I'll be lying to myself the most. I'm not there yet. So this is coming from someone who is also on the journey like you and you. I may or may not be showing some slides because something very, very interesting happened this morning that I won't bore you with that story now, but I'll say it later in the day, maybe when we start to like nod off if we are feeling drowsy. I'm going to ask one question. And the question is, are there any poor people in Jannah? Yes, are there any poor people in Jannah? Poor people in Jannah. Poor. People that lived poor, that we know that are in Jannah. Yes. Good. Thank you, sir. So, are there no rich people? Any rich people in Jannah as well? Rich people in Jannah. So what does... Yes. Did any rich people... At least we know of stories of the past, right? Did any rich person get to Jannah? Okay. So we have one thing clear. Money does not mean you will get to Jannah. And it does not mean you go to Jahannam. Or it does not mean you not get there. So that is very clear, right? We find that that is the one thing that actually puts a lot of religious people in trouble. The fact that we feel that money does not make us a good Muslim. It is something that seems to have written into the fabric of our society. That's probably why we are lax when it comes to money and finances and all that. It basically relates to what Yamir said earlier about go to the hospitals and what do you see? Loads of Muslims in hospitals. And if you look at the issues, it's really about also financial resources. Because for you to be in the hospital, one, probably maybe what I should say is that, trying to raise money for, supporting people and all that when they are in the hospital and all that. There is this thing about, noticing that in the hospitals, people that needed more resources were Muslims. And that's because we have that thing with us that Allah will take care of tomorrow, Allah will take care of tomorrow. So we haven't really articulated the fact that we need to be responsible, 100% responsible for our finances. If we look at what provisions are, what wealth is, I've said wealth is everything that Allah has provided us with, isn't it? So if you look at what wealth is, something I learned very recently that so much validated my wanting to share the little I know about finance and all that with people was something I learned in Surah Al-Baqarah. I started learning the word-to-word translation of the Quran, meaning of the Quran. And imagine having read Surah Al-Baqarah for God knows how many years. At least, alhamdulillah, I've been a Muslim for basically all my life, alhamdulillah. And the first 3 verses, we did the tafsir of the verses. And what is it? Who's going to help us with Alif Lam Mim? Let's read the first verse. ذَلِكَ الْكِتَابُ لَا رَيْبَ فِيهِ. Translation. What's the translation? This is the book. Therein there is no doubt, right? Second verse. Yes, guidance for the believers. MashaAllah.
There are 3 things that were mentioned there that actually basically qualities of the believer. What is it? The first is that they praise Allah, right? They believe in sin. And then what is the last one?
They give zakat.
What's the way zakat?
And in the end, they are.
They believe in sin and they pray. They praise Allah. And
there's something about
you said something about zakat. It wasn't actually zakat specific.
And in the end,
out of what they are has provided them. The day when I was in this class and I actually understood what this meant. What it meant to me is that whatever Allah has provided for you is what? Your wealth, isn't it? It's your wealth. And we know that money is part of our wealth, isn't it?
yes.
So, for you to be a believer, you have to also do that. Uphold that. Give out of what Allah has provided you. So how do we get our provisions? Like we just sit back, waiting for it to happen. What do?
We work for it.
We create a system
To earn
the
it.
wealth generating system.
You have to create a way of generating your platform. Good. And how does that happen? There are different ways, right?
Business idea.
You have to be business, and then what else? You can also be working for somebody, isn't
Work
it?
for somebody.
Yes. So the point is that you need to make efforts. That is the key thing. You have to make effort. So for you to be able to uphold that, that instruction that Allah has given us, that you need to spend out of the wealth. You cannot get the wealth. Of course, Allah is merciful, and He provides in excess, in abundance. You would get actually, even if you do not do. But then you need to do. That's just how it works. You have to remember Maryam, the mother of Isa. She was in labor and she needed sustenance. Imagine in labor, in pain, in the wilderness, and she prayed to Allah, give me sustenance. And what did Allah ask her to do? Does anybody know? What did Allah ask her to do? He said, shake the palm tree. Imagine. For we the women, we had this for those that have kids, you already understand what it means to be in pain, in labor, and you are sitting there with nobody else, and then Allah now tells you, shake a palm tree. Even if you are not in labor or pregnant or whatever. Can anybody, brothers, can you shake a palm tree? As in shake a palm tree.
Okay.
Is it really possible? It's a difficult task. It's a difficult task, yes.
But Allah said,
Yes, but
How
at
is
Micah now.
making these things more difficult?
So when I'm done from Micah, you can come and
make
get the
some
pictures.
efforts. Make an effort. It's not about the fact that she has the power to pull down ship the country, but the instruction is
No,
make
probably
that
engineer is
effort.
going to do that.
Where does that take us? The fact that it is not the outcome. The outcome is not
Yes,
in
we
our
can also
hands.
give you the rough
It is entirely out of our hands, but we have to take responsibility and make the effort.
You don't have CD, maybe if you can
You
come
have to
with
make the
supply.
effort. So, what does that mean? So it doesn't mean that, oh, well, I'm in my parents' house and they feed me and all that, so I don't need to do anything. No. You are responsible for what you need to do to get to gender. So it means that you are responsible for finding a way to earn income so that you can be able to give. Because it's really what is yours that you can give. Can you give what you don't have? No. You can't give what you don't have. It's a fact. So, whether you are, 30 years old living in your parents' house, or 10 years old living in your parents' house, and you already understand these first 3 verses of the Surah Al-Baqarah, then you know you are responsible to actually have something to give. Because if I read, you can't give what you don't have, right? Good. So, the issue about money, we've already seen that, okay, yes, money helps us get what we need and all that. So really, if we really look at what we can say the value of money is, it's a tool for us to use to get to our agenda. That's basically how I see things. It's a tool. It's very neutral. It's very, very, very neutral. It's a simple tool, just like every other thing that Allah has blessed us with. A tool for us to use to get to Jannah. And then if you look further into the tafsir of that particular verse and what it says about spending, it says that spending is explaining more or giving more light to spending. Is that we're expected to spend on our family. You can all hear me, isn't it? Yes. Okay, for the recording.
Okay. So the component about spending, it's explained further that we need to spend what? On our families. Right? So spending on the family, when we spend on our families, it's an act of ibadah. And how can you spend on your family? You can only spend on it if you have earned something. So you see what money can be. It's really a tool to get into Jannah. And then what else is it that we can do with the money? We can also use it on others. And how do we use it on others? We have sadaqah, right? And we have 2 classes of sadaqah. The compulsory one, for those who meet it, and then the voluntary one. So, Modi mentioned zakat earlier, and that is the compulsory charity, which of course not everybody is eligible, because you can only be if you do one thing, which we'll come back to it inshallah later. But the other one, just give charity. You may have a system. It's always good to have a system anyway. You give charity. So that's what you're using your money for, basically. Spending on the family, which always comes first. So the point here is that, I'll just quickly say this, that when you have money and you have issues in your family, they have a greater right to you than the person out there who is struggling. Because they are the ones you will be asked about. And this goes for men and women, from what I have learned. Men and women. So we now know that money is actually a tool to get to Jannah. So what we're going to do next now is really look at our belief systems around money. I've been learning about how to be financially free since I think about 2005 or thereabouts, and I'm still on that journey. It was maybe a couple of years back that I think I was able to really now know what the issues were. I had read almost every single book that Robert Kiyosaki wrote I'm sure you know about him, Rich Dad Poor Dad. He has a whole load of books. I've read almost every single. I probably even have all of them. And so many books on money and all that. But still, I just say, see, I'm still not the millionaire that I want to be. So what was the issue? And what I found later was that it was just what was going on in here. What was going on in here already? What was going on in here? When we have information, new information, if what's happening in here is not in the right, it's not at the right mix. For instance, let's use soil, for instance. You've got soil and you want to plant. You have a seed, you want to plant it. The soil has to have the right conditions. Maybe the balance of the chemicals in it, as the organic chemicals in it has to be balanced. It's got to have maybe enough kind of soil, and the particular kind of soil for that particular kind of, everything has to be right. Otherwise, it will not grow. So I think what was happening to me over all these years was that I was just getting all this new information, trying so many new habits and all that, but I was all doing it on the ground that was not fertile. So of course, what happened? Nothing grew. Nothing grew. And from learning from people that have actually been successful financially, what all of them have said is that we needed to resolve the mindset first. If I were to stand here now and teach you how to save, how to budget, how to design your business, believe you me, it will not help you in the long run. It may probably help you in the short run because you will see, oh, yes, I have a plan. You will see that, oh, yes, I now have I have all these systems in place and all that. But in the long run, it won't get you anywhere. So what I'm going to do now is to ask us to put down our beliefs around money. Do we have, yes, our beliefs around money, whatever those beliefs are. What is a belief? A belief is simply something that you hold true about something. So for instance, one belief that I mentioned earlier, I didn't actually state the belief, but I used it, in the analysis I was making earlier, is that you cannot have money and get to Jannah. Or you cannot have money and be spiritual. You cannot have money and be a good Muslim. That is a belief. So that's just an example of a belief. So, and a belief could actually be, it could help you, or it might not serve you. So what I'd like you to do now is think about these beliefs you have. And there's no judgment here. Just whatever thing pops up to your mind, things you hold about money that you know that, yes, I believe this is true. Some people will say that, see, you can't make money unless you do juju. Some people actually believe that. Those people that are rich that you see, don't mind them, it's juju. They do. Some people believe that. So what I want you to do now is actually to examine your beliefs around money, whatever they are, and write them. Some sheets of paper will go round. So I'd like you to just write it down, as many as you can think of. Whether they're beliefs that serve you, whether they're beliefs that don't serve you, just write them down. So as you're writing them down, I'm going to share with you how these beliefs happen. How do these beliefs come about? We're all born on the fitra. When we were born, did we know anything? We didn't know anything. Good. Did we know anything when we were born? We didn't know anything. So how do we know all these things we know now? We're taught. Good. By who? Good. One, by our parents. So who else taught us? Pardon? Pardon? Nature. You mean nature as well, the environment? Good, yes, the environment. Okay, so how else do we learn these things we know now? Mm-hmm. Allah also inspires knowledge to us. Mashallah, that's a good one. So how else did we learn? Spontaneous, it just happens. Maybe good. So maybe there's an experience or an incident or an event that happens and then you've learned something. In fact, perfect. Those are the three key ways in which we develop these beliefs that we have. So when we learn things in whichever way, it becomes a part of us. It becomes something we hold dear, we hold true, and then we act out our life based on it. So that is one of the other reasons why our perceptions are different about one thing. If I ask one question now, everybody's going to say different things, or even there are going to be some similar things. We hear different things. So I'm going to give you like a minute to write down the beliefs you have around money. Beliefs that we could say negative. I don't usually like using that word negative because negative itself gives a kind of, you feel it in your body when you use those kind of words, the kind of language you use. So what are things you believe about money? The fact that, yes, your own belief, things you hold true about money. You know, what you believe about money, the beliefs you have. So I give an example of some people believe that if you have money, you cannot be a good Muslim. You know, some people still believe that money doesn't grow on trees. You know, all those kind of beliefs, wherever they came from, beliefs that you have around money. Let me say a little bit more here. What you can do now also is, if you cannot, nothing pops up into your head right now, you can try and go back to, for those of us that are old like this, you can go back to thinking about what you heard your parents say about money. You know, because you know one thing about what we hear our parents say about money, we hear it so many times that, you know, it definitely becomes a part of us anyway. So if you can remember those ones, it's likely that there will be something about what they've said about money that would also influence the way you also deal with money. So if you can remember any of those as well, you can put it down. Yes. If that's, yes. Yes. Exactly. So she just gave a couple of examples here that when people have money, they forget every other person they knew before. So, when people make money, get a lot of money, they become arrogant. You know, when people, there are loads. So those kind of things is what I want you to write. Because for a lot of us, we have these things there that we believe that, and then some people will go like, see, I don't want to really have money because if I have money, I'll just lose it anyway. You know, some people believe that. And the thing about these beliefs is that, sincerely speaking, these beliefs are neutral. You know, so no judgment. Whatever you believe, just write it down. Because we've agreed that we did not make ourselves the way we are now. We are the way we are now because of how we went through life, our parents, the experiences we went into. I mean, the things we experienced, and then, you know, the things we saw, events we're in, all that is what made us who we are now. So nobody is, you know, it's not anybody's fault we are the way we are now. So the thing is now to take ownership of what we are now and then to see how we can do the best out of it. So do we have some things written down? Have you written something down? Good. So do we all have something written down? I actually need you to write it on those sheets because I'm going to be using them later. You don't need to write your names on it, please. I'm taking those papers back. Yes, please write on the sheets that were provided, please. So if you need to duplicate it, you can duplicate it on your phone. Because I know that we all have. Yeah, if you want, yeah, you could. So I think, do we all have something written down now? Okay, good. So these beliefs that we've written down, right? Is anybody willing to share something she wrote about? Okay. Do you want to share? No, do you want to just tell us? It might not even be what you've written. It could be anything, belief. I don't want to keep us on that. You could just share one if you wanted. Money can make you feel on top of the world. Mashallah. Okay, you want? Yeah? Okay, money is something you spend. And it's precious. Money is precious. Okay? Yes? When you are broke, you have more financial wisdom. That's an interesting one. I like that. Very interesting. So who else wants to share? Okay. I can make money without destroying my integrity. And on the flip side, some people actually believe that you can't make money unless, you cannot make money unless you lose your integrity. So for that reason, they are not even willing to to even go into making money. Okay, this is basically a reminder. You know, we know all these things about money this, money that. We feel like, as Muslims, at least I knew that there was a time in my life I did not think I needed to have money. Seriously. And it wasn't when I was a child. And it wasn't when I was single. This kind of like married with kids, but I'm like, I don't need to have money. I don't need money. As in, what I needed was, connection to Allah and all that, and I was fine. I didn't think I needed money, Even though some of those days I was doing Gario. But I didn't think it was a problem. And as I've said, it has to do with our mindset. So eventually, alhamdulillah, I overcame it anyway. The thing is that, if we look at that, Allah already permitted us. He has permitted us. He has said, ask. Rabbana atina fid dunya hasanatan wa fil akhirati hasanatan wa qina adhaban nar. Is that not an instruction? Is that not a directive of the one who has created us? What is good in this world if you do not categorize money as part of it? What else is good? Look at those beautiful options that we got when we imagined we had everything. See the options. And Allah has permitted us, ask. He said, ask. He instructs, he didn't just say, he said he instructs us to ask for good in this world. So that is enough to tell us that for whatever reason, we shouldn't even imagine that we should live a poor life. Let me put it that way. We shouldn't even imagine that we should live a poor life. Allah has created everything for us. The believers, you even have more right to it because you are already special. Because you are a believer, so you have more right to whatever Allah has created. And then, if you look at the one at the bottom is actually from Surah Asad. It's the kingdom of Suleiman. You know what Suleiman's kingdom? I don't think anybody has gotten anything like Suleiman. This is a prophet that, oh my God, what did he not have? To the point that he communicates with the animals in their language. He has armies that are extensive, such that if they were to all line up, including man and jinn and animals, if they were to line up, I'm sure they will line up to the horizon and you won't see everything. And he knows each one of them by name. Look at what he had. How did he get it? He asked Allah. Oh Lord, forgive me and grant me a kingdom such as will not belong to anyone after me. Indeed, you are the bestower. And he even said this, I don't want you to give any other person. This is somebody that knows the might of his creator. But even I know that I still do not feel that way he feels, because I'm still learning to understand that, I don't need to do things by myself. I just need to ask Allah and then make the effort. I don't need to struggle. My pattern in the past, struggle. And after I suffering, I'll be like, Allah, do this for me. Now I've learned is that is the worst thing to do. Ask first. Put everything on his head and then you now start making your effort. And he eases it. So these days, when I forget to ask first and I struggle so much, usually I don't suffer too much before I go back to ask Allah that, it's not my effort, do this thing for me. So the thing is that we can ask. It is okay to ride the most expensive car in the world. There is nothing wrong with it. Even though we think that because people are suffering, remember that Allah has created things in abundance. You having does not restrict another person's having. It doesn't. I think that is one of the core things that one is able to figure out. It's basically our mindset, just as I said. Everything is in abundance. You having something does not stop another person from having it or having more. So even though we feel that Yeah, but that person doesn't have. Why would I buy this car that is worth so much? I don't have that kind of car anyway. That's what I'm looking for. But the thing is that it doesn't stop anybody. And remember again that everybody's provision has been written. It has been written. There's this story I read about a man. He was on a journey, right? I think it was a hadith or so. He was on a journey, and I think he just had maybe a loaf of bread, maybe and some water or something, and he was traveling on a journey and all that. So he was like, when he was going, just thinking, oh, well, I'll just have this bread and this, and the journey is long. Let me just go, and he had to go anyway. Started out on this journey, and then when he sits down, he's like maybe resting, like, okay, should I eat this food? I think, no, let me not eat it. If I eat it, I might probably not have something to eat later. So he didn't eat it. He kept on doing that again and again. However, what had happened was that when Allah saw the state of this man before he set out for his journey, and that fear he had that he may not get something to eat at some point because what he had at that point would not take him through the journey, Allah commanded an angel and said, when he eats his provision, provide him with something else. And what happened? The man kept doing that and doing that till eventually he died, probably out of hunger. Our provision, the provision will still get there anyway, but he won't be there to get it. So what's the whole thing? Tawakkul. Of course we have to make the effort, but we believe in Allah, and then we know without any doubt that he will provide, because he has promised us that he will provide. And knowing that because we eat what is in our hands doesn't mean he wouldn't provide us with another one. When we know that, when we're able to get to that state, it's basically the state of abundance. Knowing that Allah's provision is unending. It's unending. It's really very difficult. It's not something that I have struggled to come out of that. It's a scarcity mindset to come out of that. Being so afraid that let me not spend this thing, let me just keep it. We need to keep, yes, but the intention behind the keeping is what we now need to work on. The intention is what? If it's fear-based, then the keeping won't really serve. So if it's based on fear of not having in the future, then it really won't serve us. The fear of not having. I will just give some other examples of people who went to Jannah that were, that actually were known to be rich. Like there was Maimuna, was one of the wives of the Prophet. She was known for freeing slaves. Let me go back to that slide. She was known for freeing slaves. You know what it costs to free a slave? Pardon? What it costs to free a slave? Anybody has any idea? Then, to free a slave, and this is one of the wives of the Prophet, was known for freeing slaves. So what it means is that for you to be able to free a slave, you need to have the money first. And this is not freeing one slave. She is known for freeing slaves. So, if she didn't have money, there's no how she could free a slave. We had, Zainab bin Jash, she's one of the wives of the Prophet as well. She was known as the wife with the longest hand. There was this beautiful story about her as well. That when Rasulullah was about to pass away, or rather, no, at some point he just said the person that was going to pass away next after he died, one of the wife that was going to go after him was the wife with the longest hand. So what did the wives do? They were physically measuring how long their hands were to know whose hand was the longest, because they were imagining that person was going to pass away next. But then, and I think it was maybe Sauda's hand, I don't remember who he was that was the longest anyway, but when he passed away, she passed away after him. Then that was when it clicked to them that what he meant was the one who was the most generous. That was the message, So how can you be generous if you do not have? You cannot give what you don't have. So what does that mean? We need to seek for wealth. We actually need to actively seek to earn money. And what does this mean? Both what? Men and women. We need to actively seek for wealth. And then, of course, we all know of Khadija being Khuwailid. I mean, she basically gave her wealth up to build Islam. And all these people have been promised Jannah. So, and we still want to enter the same Jannah with them and want to start struggling with poverty. Money gives us options. It can give you the option of doing your last 10 days of Ramadan here in Nigeria or going to do it at the Haram, isn't it? The one that does dua there in the Haram and the one that does it now, which one has more ladder or more opportunity to multiply? Which one? The one in the Haram. So money gives us options. If we want to create sadaqah to Jariyah, can we do it if you don't have money? In fact, when you have the money, you'll now be deciding that, okay, is it I build a masjid, or I make well, no, I'll just do all of them, right? And then it's now be a case of, okay, which community should I start with? You know, money gives us options to worship Allah. It gives us options. So the moment we're able to get this insight, we'll find ourselves loving money. Me, I love money. Before, I would have never said that. Because I used to think that, I used to have all some of those beliefs that you can't be rich and be a good Muslim. I used to. But alhamdulillah, now I don't. So actually now I actively seek money because I want to be able to help. I want to be able to do what Modi said, build homes for people, for poor people. I want to be able to do what she said, go to hospitals and pay hospital bills. I want to be able to do what our big brother here said too. You know, touch people's lives, change people's lives. But I cannot do it just me without money. Yes, we can do a little, but we can multiply our efforts when we make money. Remember I said that at the beginning of the session, I wanted this to be not just a session where you get information. I want everybody to leave this hall, inshallah, at the end of the day, having some transformation in the sense that be able to get insights that will now help us start building what we need to build to get to where we are. So we might not bother too much about putting down so many things. It's really about how you internalize this information. So looking at the mindset now, we've talked a little bit about mindset generally, you know, the scarcity mindset and the abundance mindset. So let's look at what this mindset is now. The scarcity mindset, I talked about fear earlier. You might want to save, yes, but once it is based on fear, then it doesn't really serve. It doesn't really serve. Because you find that a scarcity mindset also is what? Is very rigid. It's like you believe one thing and then that is it. A scarcity mindset makes you think of limited resources. This is the only thing I have now, I will not spend it. You'll be drinking Gary, but you have 100K. No, I won't spend it. You don't have plans for that 100K, but you won't spend it because I don't know when I'll get another one, so you'll be drinking Gary. How does that help you? It doesn't. It's problem focused. You are looking at the problem. The problem here is that I don't know when I'll get it. So what does the scarcity mindset do? It just keeps you there. You're not looking at the solution. You're just thinking of the problem. So you're basically expanding the problem. And then it definitely holds back. It holds us back in life. Because when we are focusing on the problem, we're not looking at the solution, then we are being held back. And then it has a lot of negative energy around it. A lot of negative energy. And of course, it kills abundance. Because for you to grow, one thing is that you need to give. And giving, of course, may be physically, it may be giving it could be your time, your energy, it could be your money or whatever, but you have to give. So the thing about abundance is that if you don't give, you will not get more. And you don't give when you have a scarcity mindset. That's what happens. You don't give. So abundant mindset, what does it do? When you have an abundant mindset, you trust in Allah. So you know that, well, even if I spend this money that I have now, I know that Allah has decreed my provision and I'm still willing to work towards it. I'll work towards it and I know that Allah will give me, will give me my provision. Then you have abundant resources. We've already agreed that Allah has created everything in abundance and is the most generous. he gives without holding back. And then, of course, it's possibility focused. You are not thinking about the fact that you don't have any other money apart from this one. You are thinking, okay, how can I make more money? What are the options I have to make more money? You are thinking of solutions. What do I have already now that I can use to make more money? So you are looking at the solution. So that is what the abundance mindset is. And then, what else again? It's all directly the opposite of what the scarcity mindset is, because you are positive about things. There is no negativity. You're always positive. Things are going to be okay because I'm going to do X, Y, Z. And then, of course, you have more energy and are able to move forward. So having the abundance mindset is actually what will move us forward from where we are. Having that abundance mindset, knowing that whatever I have is not going to stop whatever any other person has. Whatever I have, I can give. And it's going to stop me getting more later. So, if we look at this, the abundant mindset now, can I have anybody that can share with us maybe one statement or something that you can say that you've chosen to use the kind of abundant mindset to look at now? Maybe there's something. It could either be that maybe in the past you looked at it maybe with a scarcity mindset without knowing that you now see that, oh, okay, if I look at this thing now and look at it with the context of abundance, this is what I'll see. Anybody wants to think about that and share? Pardon? Okay. I've said earlier that, everything, the way we are now is basically a collection of all our experiences in life. And we already have some certain ways we think about some things. Right? So I was saying that if there was something that you actually maybe used to think about with a scarcity mindset without knowing, if you have been able to identify that, if you haven't, fine. I just want someone to help share something that you are looking at in an abundance mindset, with an abundance mindset. Okay, thank you, ma.
But when you get to a certain age, you will not be able to make it again financially in life. But now I see that since Allah has it in abundance, and if it is destiny that it is at that age you start having it, you can get it.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Abundance is a ubiquitous thing, and it's very large. It's a very large option in life. It's only the trust in Allah and the belief in your good self that will make it to have it. Thank you.
When I was younger, I used to have this very strong tawakkul in Allah. I could give my last kobo to anybody and have the firm belief that before the end of the day, I'll surely get something. But as I grew older, it became a bit harder, got married, have children. I find it a bit harder to just, open my mind and trust Allah completely like that. So I'm trying to bring myself back to that type of thinking, that even if it's almost my last kobo, I can still give somebody and feel that Allah will be there. He's sufficient for me.
I think growing up, most of the stories we heard were about the Sahabas being poor. Okay? And that encourages piety, virtuousness, and all of that. And the few people that were actually, the story of Abu Bakr or Khadija were like, okay, they were just there divinely to help Islam to grow. But most other people, look like 99% are like poor people, and that helped them to actually worship Allah more. Now, I still believe that also. Because even if you look at our contemporary time now, you look at the churches, and everything they preach about is how to get rich, how to be wealthy, and all of that. And you see that for us as Muslims, if we begin to focus in that direction so much also, we might lose the aspect of worship, piety, and all of that. And then you remember the hadith about you are going to account for every kobo you have. So, so if you have so much, you are going to spend time accounting for every kobo. So all of that. will bring this kind of mindset of, oh, let me just manage what I have and then go freely.
For me, my mindset changed tremendously when Micah started the Islamic Center project in Lugbe. It was a mindset changer for me. Because all of a sudden, I saw that we've been preaching, Sahabas, majority are not rich, only Abu Bakr and one or two other ones. Now you want to do a project that needs a lot of money. We've not even produced how many of the Abu Bakr and Umar have you produced? Because we're talking of people who are pious to the level of being rich also. See, the Dangotes and so on, I'm not belittling them, but Allah knows best. But they do their best, but the numbers are not so few. The numbers are so few, the effect is so limited. So I actually, it was a mindset changer for me, because 10 years down the lane, we're still on the project. We've not even gone beyond the foundation. So all of a sudden I saw that no, we can't continue to keep thinking that the richness or the riches belong to certain people only. We all need to strive and be better with our wealth. Because honestly, if everybody is able to give 1,000 naira each or 2,000 naira each on a monthly basis, we will have built the center. But guess what? We can't even give 1,000 naira per month on a regular basis. People can't give it. And as a constituent of Micah, we hope that each Micah member will be able to give at least 5,000 naira monthly. Everybody that comes to this gathering will drop at least 5,000 naira monthly. But we can't do that. So it was a total mindset changer for me that no, I think we were getting it wrong. So it made me go back to the same companions to research more. And what I found was amazing. The companions were rich. Umar radiallahu anhu, in a short time after sending the companions to Syria, they stayed in Syria for years. Then from Syria, they conquered all the way to Jerusalem, and they reached the gates of Jerusalem. And the city custodian said, I'm not going to give you the keys to the city unless you bring a certain person that was described in our book. And that certain person was described like this, like this, like this. So they sent a message back to Umar. Umar had to travel all the way for the first time after like 5 to 6 years. He hasn't seen Abu Ubaidah. He hasn't seen Khalid bin Walid for a long time. He traveled for the first time in like 5 to 6 years to Syria or to Syria, and then linked up to Jerusalem. Getting there, he saw all of them looking well-fed, dressed expensively, every single member of the companions. And guess the Amir of the Muslim, he came, his slave was on the cattle or camel they were sharing, because they didn't even have enough money in Medina to buy to ride 2 camels. The slave was on it. His clothes were patched. And he walked in, and he didn't greet the companions because he was angry at all of them. So people are wealthy and living in affluence in this place, and we in Medina, we are busy. But basically, the thing is, it was not haram for them to be wealthy. And they understood it clearly, and they applied, they were paying their zakah. How will you pay zakah without wealth? The reason the Muslim can't even do projects, we could build the Islamic Center purely on zakah, but that's if we can pay the zakah. So it's a total mindset blower for me, and I've really learned a lot.
What on the one hand, and it's something that I know I've also grown up with, that a lot of our Muslim schools do not provide the right quality of education. You go in there and you find, I'll give you an example. Some years back, when my kids were much younger, we put them in an Islamia that had recently opened. And the Islamia then was charging 40,000 naira. And oh my God, there was a lot of talk. What? Islamia? 40,000 naira? How can you charge 40,000 naira? And the people I engaged with, I know where their kids go to for regular school, the so-called secular school. and they will be paying 200, 300,000 naira per term. And that wasn't a problem, but yet Islamia per term for 40,000 naira. But then what happens ultimately? You then find the Islamic school is unable to pay the quality of teachers that are required. And so, of course, the value of the education that's given, it's poorer to the kids, and the kids are not really learning much. When they go out there, in terms of the confidence or the knowledge of their deen, they're not able to compete with children from the other faith. In terms of the secular education, they're not able to compete. So it all comes back to, if we maintain the mindset of it's right, or the only option for us to go to Jannah is to be poor, how do we even improve the quality of the ummah?
Just say it again. The mindset is the core. The mindset is the core.
Assalamu alaikum. On mindset, before I always assumed that when you say rich, it means you must have a lot of money, spend around, you will sit on your body and all that. But after reading, going and other things and other books, you find out that the richest people don't have a lot of money like that. They invest. We talk of all this, even the person that did iPad, he lives in a small place. It's just what he has. Even the iPad he built, or he owns, he doesn't really use it. Children don't use it like that. So riches is not about having so much money and spending it anyhow and finish. It's about being able to impact in other people's life. So riches is not what we call riches. If we can change that mindset of I must have all the cars and everything. I can be very rich and I just have 2 cars. It's just that once I use it after some months, I decide to change it or give it out as a giveaway price. That's all. But we have this belief that because I'm rich, I must have 100 cars, different cars and so on. You can be changing your cars every one year. But at all times you have 1 car and you are rich. And you have the best of school, you can invest in a lot of things and just be there, because you can't stay in 2 rooms at the same time. You have to live in just a room. Most of all, especially the white that are rich, when you go to where they live, it's just a small place. But we here, we have this belief that it must be one big mansion. I now find out at the end of the day, when all the kids are grown up, they can't even live in that place. You have hear a story of someone that is very rich, that's the only one in the house, and died in a particular, and nobody even know when he died. They had to start searching inside the whole house. So we need to change that mindset of having to acquire everything. Just like the brother said, we have that belief on the day of every of our riches, we are going to account for it. So you can be rich, but you don't have to have so much baggages. So that's my own mindset.
So basically what she said, just a minute, is about the lifestyle. There's also that mindset thing, mostly in this part of the world, that being wealthy is that you need to have a lifestyle, an extravagant lifestyle, a lavish lifestyle, a celebrity, in quotes, lifestyle. That is the kind of mindset we have around here. So because somebody does not have that extravagant lifestyle, does not mean the person isn't rich. Do you know how many masjids the person has built? For those who have. Do you know how many people the person has sponsored? You understand? You don't know how many orphans the person is feeding or how many people he supports, and you see the person looking at and you're like, this people, just leave them. So that is it. A person that is truly wealthy and that has blessed wealth knows the priorities for that wealth. And why? Because he has to account for it. Isn't it? So that is where it is. You are seeking to make money. You are 100% responsible for how you make the money. You are 100% responsible for how you spend it. So the thing is that even if you are poor and you still go and make the little money you are making in haram, you are on your own. You are on your own. You are suffering by not seeking to make money. You are making money from haram. So you are suffering now, and may Allah forgive us. May Allah not make us suffer in the hereafter. So the thing is that being poor is not a ticket to Jannah. I mean, so what's the point? It's like just deciding that, see, let me suffer here, and then suffering here does not mean you not suffer there. Or rather, that it doesn't mean the person would, it's not a ticket for not suffering over there. So why suffer? So it's really a mindset thing, really.
Thank you very much.